Hey everybody, my name is Bazgrim, and today we're going to be doing something just a little bit different, but I'm actually really excited about it because I'm going to do just a short Q&A with questions from you guys, the community. This is something I don't really have a chance to do very often because, I spend so much of my time just trying to educate people about Pantheon that I rarely talk about my own opinions or anything like that. But you guys asked for it, so this is kind of the first just experimentation with that sort of thing. I don't want you to think at all, though, that this is going to replace my regular content. This will maybe be like a once a month sort of thing, if that, but I'm definitely going to still stay focused on those more informative videos and interviews and stuff like that as much as I possibly can. But without any further introduction, let's go for it.
This is BazgrimTV. Learn, laugh, level up.
So first, let me explain where these questions are coming from. For those of you that don't know, I have a Patreon page for those that just want to support my content as much as possible. I'll include a link to that for anybody that's interested in that sort of thing. And I appreciate every single person that pledges there. But there's one reward tier specifically that includes exclusive access to monthly Q&A sessions. And like I said, this is just the first time that we'll be trying that sort of thing. So all the questions here today are just coming from people that pledged at that tier. But I talked to them and we all agreed that it would be best if I just shared my answers with everybody here on YouTube. So with all that in mind, let's jump right into the first question. Alright, Kelem asks, do you think VIPs should get early access just a few hours or maybe a day before launch as to not get caught up in long queues when the game finally launches? That's a really interesting idea, but right off the bat, I would be kind of concerned that it would give off this type of pay-to-win sort of impression. And that's coming from me myself as a VIP. I already feel like VIPs have a lot of really nice perks, and they probably don't need something like this. Now, I have seen some games where the your account type will kind of affect where you're placed in a queue. So it doesn't matter whether it's on launch day or any given day, really. If there's any sort of login queue, the people that have the higher account types just get placed earlier in the queue. So you're still in the same line, but you might get priority. And I think something like that might make sense. That wouldn't really feel as pay to win to some people, I don't think. To be honest, I don't even really like the term early access because I just think it's so overused in a lot of games in the industry that it just feels gimmicky and it just blurs the line of when release actually is. So I think Pantheon would do well to differentiate themselves from the rest of the games in the industry by avoiding anything that could even be perceived that way, so that when people hear about it, they're like, wow, something's different about this game, and that's just more likely to generate interest in the game. I think that Visionary Realms would get a lot of respect by avoiding anything like that. So I just don't think anything like this is necessary. Alright, the next one is from Mark. He asks, do you think Pantheon should recognize camps or make it a free-for-all? That's a big one, and I just want to make sure we're talking about the same thing here. As I understand the question, you're asking, should Visionary Realms have an official customer service policy regarding camps? Like, should they be the ones enforcing kill stealing and stuff like that? And my thoughts on that are, ideally, yes, I think it would be nice if they could police it. However, I think that's pretty unrealistic. I don't think that they're going to have the manpower to be able to go around and just enforce that all the time. I think that would be really messy. So, in reality, I think it's a lot more likely and probably better in the long run if the community kind of moderates itself. So if you've been following Pantheon for any amount of time, you've probably heard the philosophy that your reputation matters in the game. And the idea behind that is that, in this case, if you go up to a camp that's already being inhabited by another group, and you just run in and steal their kills, are you going to be technically breaking a rule? No, but the group that was there is not going to like you for it, and your name is going to be associated with being a jerk, basically, and word spreads like that, and so that's going to end up hurting you further down the road, probably. And that sort of thing's pretty tried and true. Like, no system is ever going to be perfect. There's always going to be people that find a way to game the system, unfortunately. But I think in this case, that there's enough people in the community that are very familiar with this type of courtesy and self-moderation when somebody acts out of line, that I think it's going to fall into place in Pantheon pretty automatically. And as long as the more veteran players are really proactive about teaching the new players that maybe have never played a community-oriented game like this before, as long as the veteran players show them the ropes and just kind of show them how things work around here, to teach them that when you go into an area, call out for a camp check and, you know, see which areas are already being inhabited by people, and, you know, leave them alone and either find your own camp or wait your turn or whatever the case may be. I think that mindset is actually common enough, and it's worked well enough in the past, that that's probably just how it's going to naturally come about anyway, and I just gotta think that's better than the alternative of VR trying to police every single case of kill stealing themselves. I just can't imagine that they wouldn't get over their heads, because VR is a relatively small team, and so unless 50% of the entire company is dedicated to that, I just don't think that would work. So the community's gonna have to take care of it themselves for the most part, but from what I've seen of this community so far, I think they'll be able to do it. Alright, next question. Mark also asks, how do you keep such good track on the forums? You're really knowledgeable about everything that goes on. Well, first of all, thank you. And the answer to that question is it takes a ridiculous amount of time. About 2.5 years ago, I started just spending like hours a day, every single day, on the forums, like it was my job. It wasn't, I wish it was, but I did it just because I wanted to learn as much as I possibly could about the game, and it just became a part of my daily habits. And it's the sort of thing where over time you just get more familiar with things. You start to notice trends, and you just start to remember more and more and more. You know, a lot of people actually have asked me if I have an eidetic memory or a photographic memory, or my personal favorite, that I'm some sort of AI construct that's living in a human body, and the answer to all of those is no. However, I do really believe in just strengthening your mind like you would any other muscle. It's the sort of thing where the more you use it, the better it gets, and that just takes time and practice. You know, so when somebody will ask some obscure question, and I can seemingly just pump out this quote from a developer on the forums, or maybe a link to an exact part in a stream where that question was answered, you know, people will wonder, did I know exactly where that was immediately, or did it take some digging? And the answer is usually it takes a few minutes of digging. Like, I will remember certain keywords, or maybe a general direction, or like an area of where that answer is, but it's not like I can just recite it word for word off the top of my head. I'm actually pretty convinced that because I've grown up in the generation that I have, and Google has just always been at my fingertips, that search engines and that sort of thing just come more naturally to me. And the search engine on the forums as of now is quite finicky, to say the least. But again, just by spending time, I've kind of gotten used to its quirks, and like I said, can remember at least enough keywords to get me where I need to go. Now, I do actually have a few examples that I've never really talked about before, but this seems like the perfect time to do that. So let me give you an example. So if we go to the forums here and type in recap, it'll pull up a list of all the written recaps I've done for pretty much every past Pantheon Twitch stream. You can see Bazgrims, etc., etc. Even this one's mine. This was just before I started putting my name in front of them for easy reference. It used to be that every time that there was a Pantheon stream, I would do a written summary of it like this on the forums, and a lot of people found this really useful, like either for those that are maybe hard of hearing, or if they just don't have the time to sit down and watch a 3-hour stream. This allowed you to digest the essential information in a lot less time. And even all these months and years later, it continues to be a really convenient reference point for me, because it's a lot of information consolidated in one place that's easy to find. So if we scroll down to the bottom here, you'll see that I went through the painstaking effort of taking every question, every topic that was discussed during that stream, and providing a timestamp for each one of them. And if we go to the bottom here, we see buff, targets, and scaling. And that sounds like the question that was asked. So if we click on the link here, it will bring us straight to the point in the stream.
Questions here. Can someone outside of the group buff or heal you if necessary?
Yes.
And
actually, that's happening right now. Like you'll see that other group there. They're here for not just for moral support, though we appreciate it. They're here to buff as well.
And those will be.
So there you go. And it's easy as that. So I would just copy and paste this link, put it in Discord, question answered. Now that was obviously a little bit of a shortcut. They're not all that easy, but my recaps do have a ton of information in them. But sometimes I might have to do some digging through some threads on the forums, and that might take a little bit more time. Although for some threads that have a title that maybe I think is going to be particularly hard to remember, or maybe it doesn't really relate to the specific dev quote that I think is going to be important, I do actually have a short list of some threads like that right here on my phone that I occasionally will need to reference if I need to find something really, really obscure like that. But overall, it's just a combination of practice and organization. All right, last question. What do you do when you're not Pantheoning? Add that to the dictionary right now. Some days the only other thing I have time for is sleep. But I do have a day job, so I go there to pay the bills, and then pretty much when I get home, I am Pantheoning. Or at least 5 days a week anyway. It's pretty much a second full-time job for me. But on the weekends, I generally take it easy, and I'll spend time with family, of course. I do kickboxing to stay active. I play a little bit of guitar. And actually, as I mentioned in my last video, I also really enjoy playing poker. But one of my favorite pastimes, like if I really just have some time to kill and I want to chill out to the max, my favorite thing to do is just to watch YouTube videos. But not like cat videos or anything like that that make me feel like I'm just wasting my time. My happy place are videos that make me feel like I get something out of them, that I learned something from them. So things like TED Talks, or a channel called Charisma on Command, or really just any video that's like an instructional video that's teaching me something. I want to feel like I benefited from it. I can't get enough of that stuff. In general though, I'm pretty much up for almost anything, but I'd say that those are maybe like the top 4 or 5 most common things. I like Pantheoning though. I think I'm gonna steal that term, because it just seems so all-encompassing. And that's exactly how I look at it, because, you know, I'm on social media, I'm on the forums, I'm in Discord, I'm in other people's Twitch streams, just trying to interact with the community, answer questions, get to know people. And if I'm not doing that, then I'm doing research for my own YouTube videos. Like, it just, it feels like a family, and it feels like what I'm supposed to do, which is why even when I spend 30, 40, 50 hours a week Pantheoning, it doesn't even feel like work. I love it. It's so much fun. So every day I'm Pantheoning. Well, that's all the questions I have this time. I hope you all enjoyed this nice little change of pace, just kind of hanging out. Let me know if you do want to see more like this in the future, because, like I said, for now we're just kind of dipping our toes in the format. But I, for one, had a blast, so hopefully we do more of these in the future. But as usual, if you enjoyed, like it, comment, subscribe, share, all that sorts of good stuff. But for now, I'm going to get back to Pantheoning. So, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.